On today's show, is Kawhi Leonard on his way back? And how are we going to navigate these next few games without Kevin Porter Jr. and Terance Mann? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know what you think about what I'm about to talk about and how we can best navigate these next couple of games without Terance Mann and Kevin Porter Jr. and, of course, Kawhi Leonard still being out of the lineup. So that's three players out of what we predicted to be our top 11 in the rotation before the season started. So we're talking about that and what core principles we got to stick with just to make sure that we keep our head above water and still stay above 500 until Kawhi comes back, or still Kevin Porter Jr. comes back, I should say. But let's begin with, oh, by the way, Locked On Clippers now has a daily newsletter, and I write it. It's the Locked On Clippers newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. It really just takes a second, guys, and I'd really appreciate it. It's super short. It always just gives you a nice little summary of the episode if you couldn't listen to the episode. So if you can't listen to the episode every day, you can catch the gist of it with the newsletter. So definitely take a look at that. lockedondaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Clippers newsletter. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while. Everyone, and not since I've done an episode, obviously, but it's been a while since I've talked about this particular topic in depth, dedicating a segment to it. But I think it's time. About a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I got a call from somebody that told me that Kawhi Leonard has been working out, he's on the court, and he should be coming back around Christmas. And I was like, whoa. Like, I don't know, because for me, if you've been listening to this show since the first season I've been doing it, I always say that I'm never going to come out. First of all, I don't report news. I'm not that kind of guy. That's not my role. I don't have enough sources for that. So if you ever see me saying, well, here's the thing. Sometimes when I say something, I have been told stuff. But when I try to be very candid about what I know and what I don't for sure. But I'm big into hearing multiple sources before you tell people something. So I was never going to come on here and say something, but that sounded good. Now, mind you, if I had reported that and it aged well like it did, because I'm about to give a Kawhi update, I would have looked great. But a couple months before that, in like the beginning of the season, not a couple months, but like early, mid-October, maybe early season, first 5 games, someone said, Kawhi might not even play to me. They were like, Kawhi not even play again. Like, he might retire. And I'm like, I don't believe that for a second because he's still collecting checks. And so imagine if I had, because I didn't have a secondary source for either, reported that first one to you guys. You know what I mean? It would have made me look awful. So now that there's some confirmation out that that's true, because we've now seen Kawhi Leonard on the court with our own eyes, and if you're wondering what I'm talking about, there was a video that was posted on social by nobody knows who, somebody that clearly either works for the organization or I don't know what their role is, but they were in the Intuit Dome seeing Kawhi Leonard get shots up. And they weren't just like, by the way, the account that first posted it was an IG story. It was off an Instagram story. K.3YL is what's listed as the handle. But this is like a skybox or something at the Intuit Dome. I haven't been this high before. It's through like some sort of it looks like a suite that they're watching it from. And Kawhi's doing a between the legs step back from 3 and making it. So when I see that, it just lets you know that he's progressed to getting on the court, which means that a return could not be too far away. And then the same day, Bill Simmons, who, I don't know what his Clippers sources are, but he's pretty tapped in terms of making connections throughout the league in the years that he's done sports media. And he said, my Clippers guy was telling me Kawhi's coming back before Christmas. I think he's ramped up. He's ramped up and ready to go. So whether it's before Christmas, after Christmas, or early January, it sounds like, by all accounts, from the source that I talked to, Bill Simmons, and now seeing the footage of Kawhi, he's coming back soon. Now, before we start popping champagne and having a parade, and I don't want to be a downer and a doom and gloom guy, we need to see how Kawhi's knee responds. The first thing is, that doesn't mean he's going to be healthy for the playoffs. We all know that. But the second thing is, just for the regular season, how his knee responds. Because the last time he came back, we didn't have room for error, so he couldn't work his way back, right? But he clearly wasn't himself. They've been extremely cautious with him. He didn't go to play in the Olympics, and he hasn't played a full-speed organized game for months, as far as I know, as far as the public knows. His body should be ready. The question is, we don't know what this inflammation stuff really entails, in the sense that if he plays, we're not going to play him back-to-backs. That's pretty obvious. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure he's healthy for the playoffs. But let's say we play, 8 games in 15 days, and there's no back-to-back, so he plays all of them. Will his knee respond well to that? Or, will it respond poorly, should I say? I don't know. But let's also talk about the positive. The core of this is that we're getting Kawhi back. The team that we initially thought was going to open up this season is going to finally be intact. And I did say, you know what? I think we have a chance with Kawhi to be a very good team. But I don't think we'll be better than what we were with Paul George, because you can't replace that. I also said a lot of my reasoning, I'd have to go back and check my own receipts, but there is a chance that I said that in the playoffs we might actually be better equipped. But I said the main reason why I thought we were going to be worse is, if Kawhi is out, what are we going to do? It's going to be all James Harden. But that's where Norman Powell and Ivica Zubac, but mainly Norman Powell, has been like, whoa, slow down there, D. Slow down there. Because I didn't expect this. I just really didn't. I thought maybe he could get to 18 points a game, but, I also have to see the coaching staff trust Zoo in certain situations to score the ball, which I still think we can get better at, which I'll talk about later in the episode. But they've really done a great job, and James Harden has led the way brilliantly, and I think his biggest strength, besides his playmaking and floor raising that we already knew, was his availability, which we did already know, but at age 35 to not miss a game so far this season, that's been why we have the record that we have. James Harden, without him, I genuinely don't know how we're creating shots. Good ones. I genuinely don't know. He's been everything for us. You know what I'm saying? So, and James Harden is better equipped for this kind of situation than Paul George, because he's a pick and roll ball handler that can get really good shots. Paul George is not a very good passer off the live dribble, and James Harden knows who he is as a basketball player a lot more than Paul. Paul does not know who he is as a basketball player. James Harden, it's very clear what he wants. He wants the ball in his hands. He wants to run your offense. That's it. He wants to run your offense, get guys open shots, and score the basketball. Paul George, he doesn't know how much he wants the ball. He doesn't know how much he wants to be off the ball. So my point is, this team is 14-10 right now. If you add Kawhi Leonard to this, and you have a healthy Kawhi playing at the level that he did the last 2 years, we're probably better than last year. Maybe I'm being biased, because I'm a much bigger fan of a 2-star setup with good role players than a 3-star setup with mid-role players. Last year, we honestly had a 3-star setup with pretty good role players, but we didn't get to see it in the playoffs. I think the defensive nature of this team, when you add a Kawhi, Because you know what you have with Paul George? You had a guy that wasn't going to guard the best player every night because he's like, oh, I'm the second option scoring the basketball, so I'm not going to do that. Now we have James Harden, who already was guarding the weakest player in the starting lineup usually. Then you bring Kawhi, who will just guard another decent player. And then you have Derek Jones Jr. to do the dirty work. Because I suspect that when Kawhi comes back, Norm's playing too well to put him on the bench. It's going to be Chris Dunn probably that goes to the bench. But, ladies and gentlemen, the West is so wide open right now. I've been watching a lot of teams. Besides OKC, who's not even fully healthy yet, I think we're better than every single one of these teams with Kawhi healthy, assuming that he's going to return to that level. Every single one. I think OKC is the only one that's going to be real trouble because they have a really good team and they play defense even more than us at this point in terms of defensive rating. But we do have experience. It's a matter of Kawhi's health at that point. There's no point of talking about a potential series with OKC. But all I'm saying is, I think they're the only team that you could argue would be better than us with Kawhi healthy and integrating back into this team seamlessly. I genuinely think that we're better than these teams. I think we're better than Minnesota. I think we're better than the Lakers. I think we're better than Phoenix. I think we're better than, honestly, Denver. We've beaten them twice, and then we're adding Kawhi. Is there anyone else I'm forgetting that's decent? The Grizzlies, the Warriors. I think we're better than both of them. Houston, better than them. Our best player, we'd arguably have two better players than their best player. Although, let me know. Who do you think's better? Clipper fans, I don't know if you can answer this because I don't know if you watch the Rockets like that. But is James Harden at age 35 better than Alperen Şengün right now? Because Alperen Şengün's pretty damn good. But the Rockets are much deeper than we are right now. But yeah, guys. Kawhi is coming back very soon. There's a rumor that he might be coming back on December 16th and they're doing that bobblehead. And that this has been planned for a couple weeks now. That would be nuts. I think the moral of the story is try to get to December 16th. But things are looking up. It's beginning to look a lot like Clipmas. Now coming up, going to talk about the next man up. What can we do without Kevin Porter Jr. and Terance Mann for the next couple of games to survive? And how big of a loss are they? Going to be talking about them coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right. So the Clippers standing at 14-10 on Friday, December 6th, 2024. Through 24 games, you tell me Kawhi Leonard hasn't played a game and we're 14-10, I would take that every single day of the week. I know it's too early for standings watch, but we have a better record than the Suns. We have a better record than the Lakers. We have a better record than the Nuggets. We have a better record than the Timberwolves and the Kings and the Pelicans, who've been ravaged by injuries to a Clipper level. We are overachieving. And we're getting Kawhi back soon, it seems. So watch out, NBA. But Terance Mann will be reevaluated in 3 weeks, they said earlier this week, with a fractured middle finger. He posted on Instagram saying he'll be fine, he'll be back soon. And then there's Kevin Porter Jr., who is out with, I believe, an ankle injury. Yeah, he's out with an ankle injury. But it says he will remain sidelined. So we just have no timetable on that. Now, what's the solution, right? Who are the guys that are going to play guaranteed? You have, let's assume Kawhi's not back yet, because he's not. James Harden, Norman Powell, Zoo, Derek, and Chris. That's our starting lineup, right? Coming off the bench, you've got not Kevin Porter Jr., you've got Mo Bamba, you've got Nico, you've got Amir, and that's it. The other two spots are up for grabs. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ty Lue goes 9 deep. But Jordan Miller, clearly, remember, he's on a 2-way contract. So he can only play 50 games unless we make a trade and free up a roster spot. And remember, PJ Tucker is still on our roster. And as much as I love Bones Hyland, if we're going to lean into Kevin Porter Jr., when he comes back, Bones should get traded and get an opportunity somewhere, or he's going to be out of the NBA soon. And I like him. I think there's a talent there. You know what I'm saying? But without opportunity and you getting benched, teams are not going to, put that in like high regard. And plus, every team has point guards. Teams want wings more than anything. So Jordan Miller, let's say he takes that 9th spot, but now there's an empty spot, right? You would think this is the chance for Bones Hyland to shine because we don't have a secondary shot creator outside of Harden on the perimeter. We just don't. Norman Powell, he's done a little bit more with the ball in his hands, gone downhill a bit, but it's still not reliable for me. It's still very right-hand dominant. He has a decent right-to-left crossover and that floater he takes with the right hand, but it's not reliable. And his passing still doesn't convince me. This is the opportunity for Bones Hyland. This is it, to show everyone and to show Ty Lue that he's as good as Kevin Porter Jr. is. That if he was on a trash, dysfunctional Rockets team in 2023, he could have averaged 18 to 20 points as well. Now, I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying that's what he should think. And I do believe that Kevin Porter Jr. is a more talented player than Bones just because of his physical gifts. But I don't know. If Bones, here's what I want to see from him. One, he's got to be more efficient with his dribble. I criticized James Harden last episode for the over-dribbling, and it's a big habit from a lot of guys in today's game because a lot of trainers at the youth level, I'm not saying these guys necessarily did, they just teach a bunch of moves, like stuff that's not applicable in-game and stuff that there's a lot of, when there's a lot of defense around and there's good defenders, you're just not going to be able to get that off in all those dribbles. You got to be efficient with your movement. You know what I'm saying? So the best scorers in NBA history are, and I think James Harden is an exception to this, are very few dribbles to do a lot of what they do. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you discount the bigs because that applies to them, but you got guys like KD, Kobe, and Mike. I mean, they're very, very simplistic at times with the dribble. KD probably has I wouldn't even say the most creative handle, but he's the one that has played in this era, in the most modern era, where you can essentially do anything you want with the basketball in terms of carrying and all that stuff. Even though Kobe played at the same time as KD, so he was able to do a lot of that stuff as well. But point being that they don't over dribble. I don't think any of the three do, especially Mike and Kobe. But point being, and Kawhi is another one. I don't know why I forgot about him considering he's on our team. Kawhi Leonard doesn't over dribble much at all, except for some reason whenever he catches the ball beyond the arc, he tends to, and I can't stand it. But when he catches the ball in the mid post in his areas, he's so efficient with his movement. He doesn't over dribble like Paul George. And Bones Hyland and Kevin Porter Jr. both have that problem for me. They need to be a little more deliberate with what they do. Bones Hyland's got to get downhill, right? Quicker, because he's fast. And then another thing, trust the refs in the sense that if Bones Hyland gets to the paint, gets the step on a guy, has him on their hip, and then doesn't try to go into their body, they're either going to block him or he's going to kick it out, and they're not, because teams are not really going to collapse on Bones like that. I don't think that they believe in him as a passer yet and as a scorer yet, quite frankly. So he needs to go into the body, create some of that contact, put some pressure on the refs and the defender to not swipe down, to play defense straight up without fouling. And then we might see some good stuff there. And then he should not jump pass. I think there's way too many NBA players that jump pass now. Like, that's a fundamental thing that's taught at very young levels. At least I hope it still is. We teach it at my club team. And again, a lot of the stuff that I talk about on shows and like this stuff, I'm not some basketball genius. I just have listened to a lot of people that have been in the game and have played in the NBA over the course of my life and trying to absorb information. So like what I say on this show is just a kind of like a collaboration of a bunch of different people throughout history, and stuff that I learn on a daily basis. And I'm always trying to learn and always trying to take feedback. So again, always give me feedback on the show. I always want to improve. I'm only in year 3 of this, so I want to get better for all of you, so. But one of the people that I learned from a lot is my co-coach that played at Oregon, Will Johnson, and he always emphasizes the jump pass. And he is just a guy that reiterates a lot of what he's learned from his grandpa, Marcus Johnson, who's a color commentator for the Milwaukee Bucks and has one of the best, and is a former Clipper, and is one of the best basketball people alive right now in terms of what he knows. Truly one of the smartest basketball people alive in terms of modern and past. And Dana Altman, the coach of the Oregon Ducks, I'm like, he's just reiterating all the stuff. And when you watch Oregon play right now, they're a ranked team. They emphasize a lot of what we emphasize. And the jump passing is a major thing. And a lot of people, even the greatest player of this generation, LeBron, who gets away with it. I was watching the game against the Thunder last week for them, and he had 2 to 3 turnovers on jump passes. So like, stay on your feet. Like if you're gonna pass, like don't get in the air like that, because it's just a turnover waiting to happen, and we need to keep our turnovers limited. And then as far as Bones shooting threes, I actually think that he's a volume 3-point shooter, and it is what it is. He's a guy that comes in, he's gonna create space and shoot that step back. But those are my main keys for him. The defense is gonna be whatever, but he needs to get downhill, dribble less, and try to create some contact and no jump passes so you won't get turnovers. So if you're gonna dribble so much, I'd say this: don't be afraid to do the Steve Nash, which is try to drive. If you have nothing, just go all the way around the basket and just keep dribbling and then pass it out. Steve Nash used to always do that, and CP3 did as well. But he would turn at the baseline for that shot if you weren't following him. Steve Nash used to always come around the baseline. But anyway, Bones Hyland, that's the key for me without KPJ. But coming up, we're going to talk about some of our core principles we got to stick to if we want to just stay head above water, and talk about our next game. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. What about this weekend for the NFL? We got some interesting ones, including Rams versus Bills at SoFi. I wish I could go, but I have a tournament to coach. I have not been to a Rams game this year or last, and I'm very sad about that. We are plus 3.5 for that. The Bills are minus 3.5. And then if you're a Chargers fan, the Chiefs are the opponent this weekend at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chargers are plus 3.5 for that. So if you want to bet your money on them to have the upset, go ahead and do that. Then Monday Night Football, Bengals, Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. And where can you go to bet on these? FanDuel.com. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Clipper Nation, 14-10 through 24 games. We've got the Houston Rockets next on Sunday at 6. I will be there. I've missed 4 games this season, and we are 2-2 in those games. So take that for what it's worth. But I'm excited about this one. I really am. Because the Rockets absolutely smashed us in Houston. Destroyed us. Smacked us, I should say. Pause. They killed us. And we need to show a response. This is a team that if we finish below them, OKC is going to take our pick, assuming that OKC finishes above both of us. They are going to take our pick. So then we're going to have to draft 27th. We can't have that. Our future is way too suspect for that. Because, again, it's like I don't care how much, and I truly believe that none of the people that actually say this to me are actual Clipper fans, but I don't care what people say about, you got to think about the team right now. It's like, not the future, like, because we're playing well. Hell no. You think after all these years of doing, let's just wait till Kawhi is healthy, and if Kawhi is healthy, we're going to be great? You think I'm going to put my eggs in all of that mentally? You are dreaming. I am still just enjoying the team that's playing right now, and the Kawhi stuff is essentially a luxury. Okay, it's essentially like, if this happens, great, but I don't expect it to happen. I'm still worried about our future. I still want to replenish some picks. I still want to have something to look forward to, because James Harden is still 35 years old, and he's not getting better. That's still a fact. He's not getting better. He's just still fantastic. He's still not declining at the rate that people around the league might think. But Kawhi, I mean, like, you can't tell me his situation's getting better either. So we have to be on our P's and Q's, and I'm not convinced. I really am not. Because, like, imagine if Alperen Şengün missed 15 games. The Rockets would not be the same team. They'd still be solid, but I don't think they'd be anywhere close to the same team. So my point being is, I have not, put in my head that the Houston Rockets are going to finish with a better record than us. I have not, especially if Kawhi comes back. So let's see how we do against them. Now, they're a very good defensive team, and we're a very good defensive team. And throughout the next couple of games, we need to be solid defensively like we have been all season. We played Denver. We have this 3-day break right now, right? Which is awesome and very well deserved and needed. We have another 4-day break after this Houston game, which is so nice. I'm definitely going to have to think of some stuff to talk about on the show and probably get some guests on, which is great because I haven't had a guest on so far this season, but that's so nice. Denver on the road on Friday, and then on Monday, December 16th, Utah. Kawhi bobblehead night, and how fitting would it be if Kawhi Leonard came back against the team that injured him in the playoffs in 2021, and I will be there no matter what. And then the last thing I have to say is offensively, we still need to just, kind of hang and rely on Harden and Norm to lead the way. Harden had his worst game of the season, so I expect a much better game against Houston, but they have good point of attack guys. I just hope he can maybe get Dylan Brooks in foul trouble. And then there's Zoo, who we need to keep feeding in the low post, not the high post. Zoo is not Jokic. He's not a guy, or Sabonis, where you play make out of the high post and he throws these backdoor passes. He's not that kind of guy. You give him the ball in the low post, let him get to his jump hook, and if they double team, he is getting more obvious reads because it's much harder to double and recover when you're going all the way to the block. That's why when guys start in the high post, you can shrink the floor so much easier, which is why I hate Embiid's approach when I love Jokic's. Because Jokic does the high post stuff, but he also does low post catches. And that's what makes him fantastic, among other things. But anyway, we got to be better with that with Zoo as a coaching staff. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Sign up for the daily newsletter by your boy, LockedOnDaily.com for that. It's your one-stop shop for all things Clippers, as well as this podcast that you can follow on podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you use to listen, and then on YouTube. Subscribe. Let me know what you think of the Kawhi news, the next man up. What should we do with that? Is it all about Bones Hyland? You let me know. The age-old proverb continues. Go. Oh, what about Trenton Flowers? Go Clippers.